It was March 20th, 2020. The world was adjusting to the COVID-19 pandemic when the defendant in this case agreed to sell drugs to our two victims, James Bowens and Dwayne Clark, both 20 years old. Unbeknownst to the defendant, the two victims actually planned to steal and, if necessary, rob the defendant of the drugs. Mr. Bowens took the drugs, exited the car, went around the trunk, signaled his friend that the theft was successful, and the two of them started running northbound on this residential street. As they were running away, thinking that they got away with a successful theft of about $150 worth of drugs, my defendant got out of the front driver's seat. He pulled out a 9mm Springfield Armory XT9401 semi-automatic pistol with a 10-round magazine, and he started firing. He shot at Mr. Clark approximately 5 times, striking Mr. Clark in the back right leg. Mr. Clark can be seen on video surveillance falling into a fence and then crawling into the backyard, trying to escape from this man that was shooting at him. After he successfully struck Mr. Clark, the defendant then turned his entire body down the street and aimed at my decedent, Mr. James Bowens, firing at least 4 to 5 times towards Mr. Bowens. One of those rounds struck Mr. Bowens in the back. While the defendant was shooting at Mr. Clark, 4 of the 5 rounds that he shot at Mr. Clark did not strike Mr. Clark. Instead, what they did was they actually struck Miss Martinez's home. And those bullets went through her garage and actually, luckily, did not strike Miss Martinez or her significant other.
I just heard several very loud sounds that were obviously gunshots and not fireworks. And so I immediately ran to the door to look out and see what I can see and called 911. And then once I did that, I got on the phone with the dispatcher, and as I was speaking to them, I went outside to see what was going on, and that was when I came across the young man that had been shot in the leg. He wanted to keep walking, and I just said, no, you need to lay down, you know, and he's a big kid, so there was no way we were gonna be able to carry him anywhere. So he just laid down in the grass right there, and immediately I just thought, you gotta figure out where the bullet is so that I can put pressure and just try to stop bleeding. That was my only reaction.
We need an ambulance right now. How many times did it get
Okay.
Who shot at you?
Is he hurt?
Yes, he got shot one time. He doesn't know who shot him.
I just continued to maintain pressure and just talk to him, asking him, you know, what his name was, what his birthday was, you know, things like that, how old he was, things like that, just so that he was staying conscious and I knew that he was okay and talking to me.
And she was actually relaying that information in real time to the 911 dispatcher on behalf of Mr. Clark. And she stayed with Mr. Clark until law enforcement arrived.
Where has he been shot at?
Here's, like, right here underneath my hand.
Mr. Clark was obviously a very important witness for the prosecution, and I think the fact that Ms. Martinez kept him there at the scene and also rendered aid to him and made sure that he was stable so that he could then talk to law enforcement after the fact was critical for the prosecution because we needed Mr. Clark to talk about what happened. What Ms. Martinez did was she faced danger head-on. She went to Mr. Clark and she comforted him. She provided him aid, and most importantly, she provided him with medical support. And it's my understanding that Ms. Martinez has no formal training in medical intervention at all.
It just seemed like the right thing to do in the time. It was nothing I had ever planned on being in that situation to where I would need to know that information of how to react. I also love to watch a lot of crime shows, so I get a lot of stuff from seeing old episodes of Law and Order and things like that.
Ms. Martinez showed compassion, she showed bravery, and most importantly, she showed courage.
It's just really nice that, you know, to be recognized every once in a while, and hopefully it will encourage other people, you know, to go and do the right thing and not stand back and watch, and to be a little more proactive.